So, what's up, students? I'm Dr. Gonzalez, and today we have a very special guest. It is my pleasure to introduce you to my great friend, Erika. And we have known each other since we were doing our bachelor's degree back in 2005, but let's not talk about years. I'm just so happy, and thank you for collaborating with me. I remember when I was in my bachelor's required for me to take Calculus 1 and Calculus 2. And in my mind, I was like, this is such a waste of time. I'm not going to be an engineer. I'm not going to be a mathematician, nothing like that. I just want to study biology, you know? To me, that was one of those classes that I can relate and say, hey, I just want to pass this, whatever, and then just move on. I remember I got a C, and I celebrated my C's on those two classes because I survived.
If it makes you feel any better, I had to take Calculus 3.
What?
Calculus 3. I don't use Calculus 3.
I don't even remember that.
Thank God. Because I had to take physical chemistry, and they require you take Calculus 3. But I passed it with a B.
Oh, okay.
But I wasn't doing well in that class. It was the end. I had a C. I was struggling in that class. Trying to look at everything and X, Y, and Z, and it was horrible. I remember I had an exam, and this was me in the exam. I kept flipping, and I was like, looks real pretty. Real pretty. Yeah.
No, nothing.
I got an F, but, it looked really pretty.
Your name was the only part.
No, I feel a little bit more, but I got an F anyways.
Oh my
God. I'm gonna flunk, but it's better to flunk and be one of the top flunks than to have a 0. Very important, because you never know if those points are gonna make the difference between you passing and not passing. Because you never know if those points are gonna make the difference between you passing and not passing. That's something. Always write something.
Something.
Because that's never just put your name in an exam and hand it over. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Even if you're gonna start crying, even if you're gonna rip the exam, even if you don't dislike your professor, don't just don't. I had a friend that fell asleep in one exam. It literally fell asleep.
How do you fell asleep on one exam? How does that happen?
He fell asleep. I think he stayed up so late studying that when he went to take the exam, he fell asleep.
She didn't have any sleep. She just went straight?
I don't remember.
Overnighter and then straight to the test?
I think he stayed up really late. And I think he started the exam, fell asleep, and then woke up at the last 20-30 minutes of the exam. So please try to get some sleep. And if you don't sleep, drink something before getting the exam so you don't fall asleep. I once tried one of those 5-hour energy drinks, and I've never touched one again. Those are horrible.
Me neither. I tried that one time, and back then I was doing my PhD, and I took one of those 5-hour energies. I couldn't sleep. I was so pumped. I had so much energy. But then I could feel my heart beating so fast. I got scared. It was scary. Hey, Erika, I just want to do a quick stop here. I just need to use the restroom.
Run.
Quick stop. Okay, so I think what we were going over was some study tips. Now let's just go over I feel like I want to talk about has there been anything that you wish you knew when you begin your career, or something that you learned the hard way as a student?
So when I did my bachelor's degree, I I didn't take personal loans. I used the FAFSA, so I was able to maintain myself with that and do summer internships to be able to save money. So one of the things that I feel is very important to know is once you go into college, try and save money because you don't know what your future plans are. And it's always good to have money saved up for any emergencies, or even if you want to take a gap year. Because some students after undergraduate want to take a gap year to go to medical school or to do their PhD or to just work. So I would have liked to look at other opportunities to save money. And another thing that I realized is for some people, their job is their whole world. And I put a lot of emphasis in my job and school, but you have to remember that even if it's your dream job, at the end of the day, you're replaceable. Like you are replaceable. So even if you have a good relationship with your boss, with your colleagues, with everything, you are replaceable. So don't leave tooth and nail do a good job. Like comply with what is the requirements of your job. And if you have extra time and everything, but don't let your job be your whole world because there's more out there. And another thing is, I always focus on not having my studying and job just being my life. You start getting frustrated and bored with just going to work, going to school, going to work, going to school. It's very important for you to branch out. Be multidisciplinary, I think is the word, or to try and learn different things, learn different languages, set goals for yourself. It's very competitive out there and you're never sure what somebody's looking for. So do community service. I was part of the Rebel Legion, Puerto Rico based. We dressed as Star Wars characters, but it was a nonprofit organization and it really helped you see the struggles of certain people and how you can make a difference.
I've seen your pictures and they're so cute. I love it.
It was a lot of fun. It's very embracive, but it's really important to branch out in other things. One of my goals was to learn 5 languages, and you know that I've already established 4. I'm still missing 1. And another thing is, one of the things that I wasn't gonna do, I told myself because I was scared, was, I'm not gonna do a summer internship. Doing summer internships changed my life, and being able to network with people, being able to fill that resume with different skill sets
and experiences.
And and also I really like to meet people. One of my sisters tells me like, we could go shopping at a grocery store, and you're starting to talk to the person right next to you. I'm like, I mean, we were picking out peppers, and I was just explaining
something.
To her,
come on,
how do you put fry an egg with the pepper? I mean, it's just
that's so
stuff.
good. I love that because you never know who you are meeting, and that person could be your future employer.
That's true. When I went to MD Anderson, the person that I work with is now my boss. The lab that I'm working in my PhD, I try to make connections, and people would always tell me, you gotta network. You have to learn how to present yourself in 2 minutes. I think they call it as an elevator talk or something, or also they call it a shop talk.
Yes.
And that's something a lot of people don't know how to do. They get really nervous, they get really scared, and that's another thing that I have to learn to not struggle with. It's okay to be you and portray something that is probably going to be highly expected of you, but you have to break that barrier in order to be able to integrate yourself around other people. Because if you're working either in industry or research, there's going to be people from different cultures, and we're not all the same. So we have to learn. One of the questions that the OSU asked me was, what could I bring additional to the university? And that's one of the things that I wrote about. Being able to speak different languages and learning from different cultures would help me embrace more that multicultural.
Damn, that's so good.
I won't name names or anything, but I had a situation where it was brought up to me that the way my accent, it's hard to sometimes understand me. And I had to explain that if that's how my accent is being portrayed, what about other students that come from other places where English is not their first language?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes English could be their third language, mm-hmm. and they might have a harder accent than I do. Mm-hmm. It might make them feel even more uncomfortable. So I managed to discuss that situation and bring it up front, as for it to not happen again, and be more conscious about that, because with everything that's going on with different movements, it's really important to be able to put yourself in those other people's shoes, right, and make sure that it's
empathy.
That there's empathy.
That's right. Empathy, it's a value that not too many people have, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And if, especially the students that are maybe watching this video, or even if you're like already a clinician, right? You empathy, it's a thing that you must have, right? To deal with your patients, deal with your clients, deal with anybody else around. And we're all struggling, right? At the end of the day, every single person, you don't know what this person is going through in their lives, right? So we have to be kind. So thank you for sharing that. That's, I love that. I think I'm loving everything, but
there's also and being in the industry, I also learned, and that people may say that this is not true, but it is true. Your physical appearance dictates, and a lot of times, your job position. People will evaluate your physical appearance for a job position. So it's really important for you to portray yourself in a certain way for a certain job. And that's something that I learned the hard way. College student, starting my first job. So I had to change my wardrobe, style my hair, certain makeup. So don't let that affect you, because it's just something in certain jobs that you have to be responsible for, even though you might feel uncomfortable or anything. And another thing is, don't always be too nice in a job. Make sure that you are respected in the position that you are for what you know. And at the same time, make sure you make connections with those people, because you never know. You might be very good at what you're doing, but sometimes you need exterior help to push something out. And if you don't get along with those other people, or they don't know you, it's just gonna be a barrier for you. So you don't want that. Don't try to be excessively good at something, or excessively portraying yourself that you're above people, even though you might have this big title that you are have a higher position, because the people around you could probably be those people that help you be in that position. And everybody's important. I mean, I'm a type of person that I make sure that I try to have a good relationship with everybody around me. That may not always be possible, but the person next to you might be the person that might help you get your next job, or might be the person that you need to have your business. I mean, it's
true.
Always try to be a team, a person that works as a team.
Yeah, team player.
A team player. There may be jobs where you have to be the leader, but just because you're the leader doesn't mean you can't be a team player. A team be able to work as a team player makes a whole lot of difference. And that's really important to have a very also healthy environment. It's hard when you're in a job and it's a toxic environment. And it might even start from high up. You have to be able to know how to handle that. So it's also important to know your limits. Everybody has limits, and don't feel guilty for asking vacation or sick leave.
Oh my God, yes. That's your right.
That's your right. I know there's different laws for different states and everything, and but you shouldn't feel like it's a favor. Asking for vacation or a sick day, you shouldn't feel like it's a favor. If you're doing your job well, if you're complying with the requirements, you shouldn't feel guilty about asking for it.
And so, since we're on the path of advice, I think you kind of already went there a little bit. What advice would you give to another student who wishes to pursue a career similar like yours, maybe in the industry or maybe like doing the PhD like you're doing right now? What kind of advice would you give them?
So work when you're trying to find this type of job, they want to know if you had any leadership. One of the things that I did was help try to develop the first society during my master's degree, and I was president from it, and that helped show that I had leadership skills, because that's one of the things that they ask you for. Another thing that's very important that they're going to ask you is, how do you handle conflict? Conflict is a very important thing to take in consideration, because if you're in a job, they want to make sure that you're not going to use your fist, or that you're not going to be bringing a lot of trouble. You're going to get physical, for starters. And then you're not going to be bringing somebody else down. They want to know how you handle those types of situations. Insulting or just being demeaning.
Right.
In a passive-aggressive way, probably, to one of your colleagues. Another thing, if you want to go to, they say, the pharmaceutical industry, one thing that helps is there's always, well, not always, but most pharmaceutical industries may have a co-op where you can go during the summer or during the year and work for them, and you can learn that way, working in different departments, and learn how the pharmaceutical industry and what it entails to work there. And a lot of times they might just pay you, so you don't need another full-time job to cover yourself. Sorry. Another thing would be, especially for research areas, but this also helps the pharmaceutical industry, is doing summer internships. If you already finished your undergraduate, you can do a post-bac. If you can't do a post-bac, I think it's the NIH has these programs where you can work for 1 year in a lab, maybe take 1 or 2 courses, but mostly you can work a year so you can have more experience in the research area. I think my boss actually did that for a year, and I had a friend that also did that. He communicated with one of the people that was working that he was interested in, and he applied, and he managed to work there for a year. So that's another very good opportunity. Another thing that could be done is taking courses. There's something that's very driven in the pharmaceutical industry, and it's called Yellow Belt. So it's a way to train a person on how to understand for example, you want your own company, or you want to sell bread, and you go to me and you tell me that you want to sell bread, and I'm like, okay, what steps do I have to go through to be able to sell this person the bread based on what the person's telling me, because you need
like marketing.
A certain, is like marketing. So it's there's some certifications that you can get for that, and you can also, depending what department you're interested in, like if you want to go to quality control, or you just want the manufacturing area. So there's important certifications that you can get just to help you understand more how to work in the area. For example, one of the things that they might ask you if you're going to go to a manufacturing area is, what equipment do you know of? What is the difference between a manistee versus a FET? Or if you're going into a formulation, do you know how to write a protocol? Those types of things those are the things they're gonna be asking you in a lot of cases. Since I was in technical service specialist, they really wanted to know how my writing skills were. So if your writing skills are not very good, meaning that you always jump on ideas, you're very wordy, you don't know how to use those words like moreover or furthermore or hence to try and do that transition words, then I suggest you take a writing course, especially if you want to be able to handle investigations in an industry setting. Also,
and I think that one, it's great not only for non-English speaking people but also for English speaking people, because this is something that it's not like on a regular school. It's not taught on a regular school. Those are the skills they have to like literally learn.
I have been taking writing courses since high school. I wouldn't say writing courses, but I had a Spanish teacher that she was very demanding of being able to write essays and what they should have, what things you should have in an essay and how is you're supposed to write it. When I was in my bachelor's, every time I would have to do a summer internship, it was very important for you to know how to write, because at the end you have to write a report with everything. But they also, at least a lot of those summer internships, the most important things that they tell you is networking, mentoring, how to write your resume.
Yes.
You have to have a good CV. You have to know how to do a poster. You have to know how to do a shock talk. You have to make sure to know as much as techniques as you can, whether it's not only in vitro, in the cellular area, but also in vivo, mice work. Another thing that they're really important is also, if you're presenting, how is your attire supposed to be? What are the do's and don'ts about that? So overall, it's a lot of different things that you have to take into consideration depending on the area you want to go, but those are my main ones.
Yes. Oh my God, I loved everything that you just mentioned, especially the fact of networking. Networking, even though if you're an extroverted person, it'll be very easy for you, but if you're an introverted person, it's gonna be a little bit hard. But nevertheless, take that into consideration, because a lot of the times to get a job, and this is something that as a student, like if you're a student and you're listening to us, as a student, you have to start thinking about your future, right? Eventually, when you graduate, you're gonna look up for a job, right? So you need to start networking with people who are already doing the job, or who are bosses, or I don't know, managers, etc., because they are the people that could eventually give you a job.
One of the things,
that's great.
For example, if you're interested in the medical field, is shadowing. You need to do a lot of shadowing with doctors in the medical field, on top of being able to do a lot of
volunteering.
I'm doing a lot of volunteering work.
Yes, volunteering. Definitely do some volunteering work.
A lot of volunteer work. I did for 3 months. I volunteered in a hospital. That was very interesting. it's really hard. They, at least for that volunteering, they told me that I can't do, obviously I didn't have the techniques or anything to do any clinical work. You can just try to make people's stays easier, but it was really hard depending on the area you were. The area where people were getting dialysis was really hard to be in. And if you were in the emergency area, was also really hard to be in. So the medical field, it's another world in its own.
Definitely.
But still, I think that there's some things in here, especially when you're trying to get funding, and you have to have a lot of student loans to go into the medical field. At least in the PhD, I was once told in one of the summer internships that if you're paying for a PhD, then you're stupid. that you shouldn't pay for a PhD. I don't know how accurate that is, but I made sure to follow that advice. And
that's the thing. I have to agree. There are so many programs nowadays that they have scholarships.
It's harder to get funding for a master's. The program that I was in, that wasn't applicable. But obviously, I did sustain myself all those years, even though I was working with student loans. That's one of the reasons why I also suggest to save money. I was planning to everything that I had saved to pay my student loans. However, I decided to do the PhD and decided against it because I went back to studying. But I could have actually paid almost all my student loans if I would have kept going on that pace of having my full-time job and everything.
And is there anything else you would like to add, just so that the students know? This is gonna be like our last question for the day, but is there anything else you would like to mention that you think it's important for them to know?
I think it's very important to have a healthy or a balanced mental health as well as physical and emotional. It's always very important to not burn yourself out. It's try to take some time off and don't feel guilty for it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you're going through something personal in your life, just make sure to take it day by day. That's mainly what I do. I just take it day by day, because if I think about the overall things that I'm going through, I just become so overwhelmed. It makes it even harder to move forward with the things that I know that I need to do. And I think it's very important for people to know that it's okay to fail. Just because you fail at something doesn't mean you're a failure.
Right.
It just might mean that you're just not interested in that, or that's harder for you to understand than other people.
Hey, failure
isn't for you.
Important. Failure is so important, because I've learned throughout the years that when you fail, you also learn.
I've learned a lot through failure, and I've noticed that students that have never failed or have always been on the top, when they finally do, or they're not viewed as the best, it's 3 times as harder for them to cope.
That's so true.
I think failure is very important. You can learn a lot from failure, and that has helped me push through a lot of things that I once thought I couldn't do or couldn't learn. So I don't think you should be afraid to fail. You should be more afraid of starting something and not finishing it.
Erica, is there an email or your Instagram or something that you want to share with the students in case they have questions for you? Like if they feel they want to reach out, that you want to share?
Sure. My OSU email is Belez, at V as in Victor, ELEZ .bonet, BONET. I'm sorry, it's not dot. It's VELEZ, the little Splashy.
I'm gonna put it I'm gonna put it here on the link.
Yeah, and bonnet.1@osc.edu. That's my school email, so you can write me there. And the other thing is, it's called Pelotonia.
Hey, I see.
So Pelotonia is the funding that we sponsor for research, especially cancer research. And I have a friend in the lab that she is trying to get funding. She has a goal to meet around a bit more than $1,000. Her name is Valentina. She's a third-year graduate student and a very good friend. And if anybody could contribute a little bit to that funding to reach our goal, I really appreciate it.
Yes, please. Every dollar counts.
Yeah, even if it's just $1.
Right. Well, thank you, Erica, for your time. I really appreciate everything that you have shared with us and the students and everybody watching. Thank you, everybody, for watching our video. I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. If you have any comments or suggestions, you can comment down below. And you can also check my other videos where I always teach, more study tips. And I have, of course, my anatomy and physiology videos. And more content like this is gonna continue to come to my YouTube channel. Right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.